I said that I like crazy smoke, and I was a lot like
and it's a lot of repeating on what I said like last week, but just want to give everyone a quick update and rundown on a couple things here. So first and foremost, just class this week. So today we're in here, obviously. Tomorrow will be open hack. So it seems like most folks are cool with just meeting directly at Coworks. Is everyone okay with just meeting directly at Coworks? If you want to swing by here, no one will be here. You can, if you want to. But everyone's cool with that. We'll go directly to Coworks and we'll meet you all there. I won't be there tomorrow, just a heads up. I'll actually be in Rochester, but Ryan will, and Pankaj, sorry, I'll get it right eventually. Pankaj will be there as well tomorrow. And then on Thursday, Matt Chexio, Raymond Flanagan will be coming in to give a talk on interview skills. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then just for like a tentative event. So next week, Matt and Rolf at Raymond Flanagan are planning to come back and give some in-person mock interviews. Okay. So we're trying to find some dates and times that might work well. So they've proposed next Thursday, so that'd be the 23rd from 4 to 7, or the 24th, which is a Friday from 4 to 7, like right here. So they're open for either one of those times. I know it might take up some class time here, but I don't know how folks feel about Fridays. What would people prefer, Thursday or Friday? So just like quick show of hands. How do people feel about Thursday for the mock interviews, like during class, like 15, 30 minutes on Thursday?
Either way.
Okay. What about Friday?
I sometimes work Fridays.
Okay.
Job, so.
Is anyone indifferent to either? Just.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Thursday, is it gonna like mess with like the schedule, so we'll have to cram something in?
Yes, so like you'll ultimately miss like maybe 15, 30 minutes of class. Like so he'll basically come in and be like, all right, we're doing mock interviews, and so you might miss like 30 minutes or so of content. That's the only thing, which is why like we're trying for the Friday too. But obviously, given the Friday back to for whatever. So like we can do either, and they can do either too. We're just trying to get like a good estimate of what we want to do here. So so is Thursday carving out a lot of time like on an individual basis for class okay? Do you prefer Friday? What do you guys think?
Are we all gonna be interviewed, or just like he's gonna just talk?
Whoever wants to sign up. So like it'll be like individual like one-on-one interviews. So if you're interested, you we'll have a big spreadsheet, sign up on that and have certain time slots. So if you want that, like go for it. And so if you don't want to, that's totally fine too. So yeah, it'll be like a one-on-one thing.
Are we all gonna like critique each other, or are we gonna go?
No. So Matt and Rolf will come and they'll be like, all right, guys. Yeah. So there'll be like a schedule in advance, and then they'll take the students aside one by one, and then go and do that mock interview. Okay. Does that make sense? For what that looks like? Cool. So you want to try for Thursday then? Is everyone cool with that? Thursday, Friday. We can try for Friday too. They can do either, like I said. So I'll go ahead and probably by tomorrow, I'll send a spreadsheet and just like feel free to sign up for whatever time you'd like. We'll do it in like 30-minute blocks. That's this week, right? Next week. That's next week. Yeah. Yeah. Just giving you plenty of time to sort of prepare for that. Yes, the here. Sorry. Okay, perfect. Yeah, next week. Sorry. So that'd be the 23rd and/or 24th. Cool. And then just a quick update here. I said this in the Slack channel as well, and I'll also be like posting on the links and everything I'm saying right now. But we updated that capstone document and sort of what that looks like here, sort of like what an MVP is and what you should sort of be trying to create over these 24 weeks. Also a couple examples of other capstone projects that people have done at previous coding boot camps, sort of like a high level schedule of like week over week and module over module where we think we should kind of be at. So by the end of like X module, I should be able to do what I think for my capstone. We also have a bunch of additional resources there as well. So please give a read over if you haven't, and let us know if that's helpful. If it is, awesome. If it's not, let us know how we can continue to provide additional resources or what you need to be successful with your capstone. So we hope that helps in terms of sort of where you're at. Again, don't freak out. Don't sweat it too much. We still got plenty of time to do this capstone project here. So, and then in terms of sort of where we think we should be at right now, we think it's probably like a good point for the HTML and CSS stuff. So doing a little bit of the page layout, all that good stuff. I also pinged out like an example project I did. And so right now I know it's really hard to sort of see all the pieces of your capstone project. So we have a ton left, right? It's sort of hard to envision like what the heck is my database gonna look like? What are my data sources? All that stuff. That's okay. Sort of fake it till you make it. So you can like mock out like an entire user experience. And I sent them an example. I did have a little test project. So feel free to take a look at that. Even if you don't have those backend API pieces, you can sort of still like fake the user experience, if you will. And then once you learn the backend and API stuff, you can sort of plug it in to that like faith experience, if that makes sense. So I don't have any questions on that front, just in terms of like capstone stuff. Any feedback, questions, comments? Yes, Kelly, please.
Are we supposed to be buying the domains for our project? I mean, I read about the MVP and like I understand the idea behind that, but I just wanted to double check. You know, should we be getting domains for the project so when we present them, we can just go to whatever this website is?
Yeah, great question. So you can feel free to use like the GitHub Pages or Netlify one that it gives you. So like, you know, my website.netlify.com or whatever. But you can absolutely use that for your students' spending stipend. So if you wanted to like buy like 5 domains, if you have a bunch of projects, go for it. You can use the stipend to reimburse all those. Typically domains trying to spend like the .coms are anywhere between like $10 and $12 roughly.
GoDaddy usually has it for $1.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
It's,
for it. Yeah.
like if you want to be cool and get like the .ios, those are a little more expensive, but you can feel free to get those too. If you
Also, there is this website .dot.tk. It's some company, like some Pacific island, that will give you free .tk domains. In fact, I registered module5.tk for later on in this project.
Awesome.
And they'll give it to you for free for like a year. So
Cool, that's an option too. Okay, awesome. Any other, just a couple other things here just for capstone stuff. So we also asked our instructors if they'd be willing to get together for sort of a feedback session on those capstone projects. So if you're interested in that, basically a couple instructors would get together and you can sort of pitch your ideas that you have so far and where you're at. And you can get feedback on those ideas you have and the projects and whatnot. So we're sort of tentatively targeting this Friday afternoon for that. Are people interested in doing that kind of session? And if so, would Friday afternoon work for you? Show of hands is yes?
Oh, no, not this Friday.
Friday's tough? Okay. Okay.
Afternoon is hard now.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and send out like a poll. I think I might have already, but I'll send another one out. So I'll send a poll just to sort of get some availabilities from everyone and from instructors and students, and then we'll go from there if that sounds good with everyone. And hopefully that will be helpful to sort of see instructor feedback as well, not only mine. So cool. And then another one is, sorry.
You know what time you're shooting for on Friday?
Not sure. Yeah, I'm gonna send a poll and then we'll figure out the time.
I have to chaperone from.
Bummer.
Nice.
Cool. All right. So if not this week, we'll try something for next week too. Like we'll figure out a time that works. And just another one too. Some of our instructors have volunteered to sort of do like we do like the capstone touch points, but sort of like more formal like mentorship, I guess. So if you're interested in that as well, I'll be sending out polls for that as well. So keep your eyes on that for this week here for interest. And then getting that one-on-one help, guidance, mentorship, all that good stuff. And then last thing on the capstone stuff. So next week, we'll be doing a demo day. Don't let that scare you. You'll show what you have thus far on your project. So no matter where you're at, even if you're still in the idea phase, that's okay. But whatever you have to show, you'll come up and you'll plug into the laptop here and you'll show off what you've built so far. So even if it's like a Trello board, great, show that. If it's a little front-end mocks experience, cool, show that. If it's just a notepad of ideas, show that. But we'll show something for next time if everyone's comfortable with that. Is everyone okay with that for next Monday, like a little demo day for the capstone, just to see where everyone's at? Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Cool. If you're not, feel free to DM me. We can certainly chat. Last thing here, I know I said this last week as well, but you can always set up one-on-one time with me. My Wednesdays afternoons and Fridays, like from 10 to 3. You can always schedule some time. Eva was actually the first one to set up some time with me on Friday. Yeah, feel free to set up time. Like I said, my schedule is kind of crazy, but Wednesday afternoons, like from 4 to 5:30, I can't this week, but hopefully we'll be able to start doing that more often. And feel free to set up time with me on literally anything you want to talk about. So please take advantage of that if you want to chat with me. And I think that's about it. Anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments, or feedback on anything I just said or anything else in general? Yes, Karen.
The stipends, how long does that you generally take?
Yeah, yours is on the way. So we just have to wait for the check from the county. So you'll hopefully in the next 3 or 4 days. So we basically bill it the month before, and then we have to wait about 15 days after the month, if that makes sense. It's just a process. Yeah. So yeah, yours is on the way. And I know someone else submitted it as well. I think you did as well. Yeah. So you'll be getting that in a couple of days here, hopefully. So.
I might possibly.
Yeah, please do. So you can always get the stuff now, and you just get it a little bit later. If that makes sense.
I just wanted to see. where they're at.
Yeah, so assume like a month in like a couple days, basically. That makes sense. I know it's a long time, but just how we have to do it to the county, unfortunately. So, cool. Any other questions? Yes, Kelly.
About the reimbursement form, if I wanted to get more than one thing, should I submit separate forms for each thing I wanted to get, or should I just put it all on one form?
Yeah, great question. So if it's for like, so you mean like quantity of like a
Yeah, so
specific
forms
thing?
like I want to get a book and then maybe also like purchase a web domain and, get a course.
Yes,
There are,
yeah.
Like 3 different things. Should I send in 3 different forms, or should I just like put it on one form?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do one big one?
Great question. So you can feel free to do it all at once, but just make sure like, so the most important thing we need for that is like the file submission, which is like the invoice, like the receipt or the email, whatever. I'm pretty sure we support like multiple file uploads. If we don't, you might have to do it, separately. I think that we support multiple file uploads though. So yeah, feel free to do it all at once, but just make sure you have like a screen cap of like what the thing is basically. That makes sense. Cool.
For my Amazon, I bought a couple books on Amazon. I just take a screenshot of the.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like take a screen cap of like the email or like the receipt, like whatever, as long as we have that.
I thought they still sent a receipt of the books.
Interesting. I thought they did. Okay.
I would have bet.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Usually I just get a little thing.
Yeah,
They used
yeah.
to put in like a.
Yeah, like a invoice.
I
Cool.
don't usually pay attention, so they could have stopped.
Yeah, me
that
either.
years ago.
Amazon is very
And I'm
dangerous.
oblivious.
Amazon is, I spend too much money there.
You can go and click on your order and get a receipt from there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
too, like my orders. So
Mhm.
cool. All right, everyone. Any more questions here before we get kicked off? Thank you for your time. I know my announcements are normally pretty boring, so get to the fun stuff. And again, if you have any questions on anything at all I just said, how the course is going, setting up time, feel free to always hit me up on Slack. I'm always happy to set up some time here to chat about anything. Cool. All right. So without further ado, first I'm going to introduce our TAs for this week. He will be with Katie Watson as well. But today we have Pankaj. Am I saying that correctly?
Hey.
Pankaj, if you want to say a little bit about you and then hand up to Ryan.
Hey, my name is Pankaj Chandiramani. I'll be the TA for next 3 weeks, I guess. And I'm a product manager at Article. I've been working there since last 13, 14 years or something. I've been a dev, a DBA, and since last 10 years, I've been a product manager. So if you are bored coding, you can come talk to me and I'll hook you up. And yeah, I'm new to Syracuse. I've just moved from Bay Area a couple of months ago. So just wanted to meet everybody, build a network here and talk and figure out people. So yeah, reach out to me. Thanks.
Thanks, Pankaj. Really appreciate being here, Pankaj.
Yeah.
And then your instructor for this week, Ryan Gaus.
Hi.
And with that, I'll hand it off to him and one shot. Oh, Jason.
I looked on the form. It looks like we can only upload one file at a time for the reimbursement thing.
I'm gonna see if I can fix that right now.
Okay.
But thanks for this. So, cool. All right, Ryan, hand it over to you.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Ryan. I'm going to be your instructor for the next 3 weeks. This is module 5, and in module 5 we're going to be talking about HTTP and APIs, RESTful APIs, JSON and AJAX. Lots and lots of words there. You don't have to understand any of that stuff yet. But I guess the first thing I wanted to start with here, before we even get into any of this material, is just I want to show you. I have got this final exercise. It's kind of supposed to be the end exercise of this whole entire module. So I kind of wanted to show you guys what it is you'll be making at the very end. I thought it would be kind of inspirational, I guess. And I should have had this prepared and ready to go ahead of time. So give me a second here. Yikes. Sorry, folks. You know what? I'm gonna wait until the end when you guys are doing your exercises to get this going. It's gonna take me a second. I'd rather not have to go through that right now. And I lost my presentation. Okay. No, I got it. There we go. Okay. So final assignment, we're going to talk about that near the end. But we're going to start here with day 1, networking fundamentals. So module 5, most of it's talking about networking. And networking is the process of taking 2 computers and connecting them together. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. But what we're going to start with talking about here is something called TCP. So what is networking? Networking is the process of connecting two computers together. So the internet is made up of a bunch of computers that have been connected together. And when these computers are connected together and we talk between them, we're sending data between these different computers. You've got a bunch of different computers. Data is all flowing between them. Okay, TCP. Sorry, that was kind of a rocky start there. Okay, so TCP is a mechanism for one computer to make a connection to another computer and send and receive arbitrary data to it. So we're going to do an exercise here in a second to help you understand this sort of concept. But in general, if you think of two people that are talking, one person initiates the conversation. They might say, "Hi, how are you?" And the other person, when they hear that conversation, the initiation, they'll maybe respond, "I'm doing good, thank you." And you can think of what computers are doing in a very similar fashion. Someone initializes the communication. They're usually called the client. And then the person who responds, they're usually called the server. And you have this sort of bidirectional communication that occurs. And that's how data will flow between these two different computers, I guess. But maybe something you might ask, if you're talking with someone in person, you might see their face. You know, oh, that's I don't know, that's another person. That's Dakir over there. I might say hi to Dakir, and Dakir will respond, "Hi, Ryan." And we know who we are because we see each other. But the computer is still a little bit different. I mean, you have these two different computers. There's not really just at the service level. You wouldn't necessarily know what computer is what. So in computing and in networking, we have this sort of concept of an address for a computer. It's called an IP address. You can think of it as like the computer's name. It's the thing that you refer to that computer as. Does that make sense in general, everything I've just said?
Yeah.
Okay. I realize it's maybe a little bit basic, but I just want to make sure we're setting the stage here. So our first exercise here, actually, I want you guys to all get your IP addresses. I'm going to walk you through it. It's pretty easy. So, I just talked about this IP address. An IP address looks like this. So it's a little bit of a simplification, but it looks like this. It's 4 numbers, all separated with periods. So you'll commonly see something like 192.168.1.24 or 10.0.1.3, and it can be any numbers separated by periods like that. It's always 4 numbers and 3 periods. Okay, that makes sense? Cool. Okay, let's find your IP addresses. So, have you guys used the terminal at all yet? Okay, I'd hope so. So let me see if I can swap this to mirror. Cool.
I don't see your screen in Zoom for some reason. Just
Okay.
make sure you're sharing the right one.
Oh, I maybe am
Yeah.
not. Let me make sure.
I don't think you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there
a
you go.
problem.
So whatever, yeah, you can like.
Yeah,
I said,
cool.
perfect, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so just make sure.
Yep.
I actually don't know.
If you hit Command Space and you type terminal or start typing terminal and then hit Enter, is that what you're referring to by chance? No?
I mean, it's,
Command space.
brings up the search.
What can I help you?
Are you using a VS Code or just like the actual?
Just the actual.
Yeah, so
Terminal.
you're there.
Yeah, it works for me. I don't know why. Just command space. You don't have to hold it. Yeah, don't hold it. That brings up.
Just hit quickly.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay. So how's this for text size? Can you guys see that? Okay, cool. So if you're looking at the presentation, let me bring that back up quickly here. So the first step here, we want to open up terminal. The second step, we want to run this command, ifconfig, ifconfig. So everybody run that. There's a lot of output that's going to come out, but we don't care about the majority of it. What you want to do, if you look at the presentation, I have it circled here. You want to look for the thing that says EN0. It's going to look like that. It's at the, if you scroll down, it should be closer to the top. It should be on the left side of the screen, EN0 colon. And then under it, you want to look for this thing that says inet space, and then something that looks suspiciously like what I just had on the screen there a second ago. So does it look something like 192.168.something.something, I would guess? Okay. Was everybody able to do that, or do you guys want help with that? I don't know. Netcat, you might be able to do it. Yeah. Everybody good? Okay. So next up, I made this spreadsheet. This is the URL, the address to it. If you go to that in your web browser, I'd like everybody to make a new row in that spreadsheet and put their name and then put their IP address next to it. This is going to come up later on, but we want to create a directory here of IP addresses that people can, someone can say, oh, I want to send a message to Katie, and then I can say, oh, well, there's their IP address. So let me know if I think I set this up so you guys should all have write access to it, but if not, we can figure that out.
Can you go back to the slide?
Yep. Oh, this one. View only? Okay. Yeah, there we go. Did that change anything?
Yes.
Perfect.
Is that
Is it shared what?
did you share that in the classroom?
I didn't. I can though, if it'd be helpful.
It's in the slides, so.
Yeah, or I can post it in Slack too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ryan, feel free to ping out anything, in that Slack channel.
Yep.
Resources, just get access to that.
Cool. Perfect. I'm gonna get rid of these two bogus entries at the top because that was just me playing around. Okay. Okay, I think we got everybody. Cool. Okay, so just a reminder here, that IP address, that's the address that anybody can use to talk to your computer. So now that we have this here, we have this sort of entry. Have you guys learned about DNS before? I think I was taking a look at the earlier modules. I think Jeff might have talked about it way back in the day. Does that ring a bell at all for any of you?
What is it?
So DNS, it's called domain name system, but effectively it's a way that you can take something like a domain or a name or something like that and map it to an IP address. What we've done on this table is we've created this sort of DNS. We've created this mapping of people's names to IP addresses. Does that make sense? So a similar sort of idea would be if you have you buy like a domain name and you want to point that at something you've written. Similarly, like whatever.com, that's hooked up with DNS to an IP address. So we've done something similar here. Instead of using domain names, we've used people's names. So really calling it domain name system isn't quite right, but we've used people's names. And the reason why is in a second we're going to have people sending messages from one person to another. If we're going to do that, we need to be able to figure out where to send them. You know? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So this first part's not as interesting. We're about to get to the interesting stuff here, though. Oh, one more slide of not interesting stuff. Ports. So when you're a great example here is like a walkie-talkie. We could have everybody have a bunch of walkie-talkies in the room. They could all talk to each other. But on a walkie-talkie, you have different channels. You need to have these different channels because if you have two people having a conversation, two other people having a conversation, you don't want those people to be talking to the wrong people. You need to make sure they're talking to their partner. So in computing and in networking, we have this notion of a port, which is a number from 0 to 65535. Doesn't really matter, but just we've got a lot of different ports. And you can think of them like channels. So if I want to maybe talk to, I don't know, like I want to talk to Tim, I might say, Tim, we're going to talk on port 20. And then you can listen on port 20 and I can speak on port 20 and I can say, hey, Tim, through my port 20 shaped tube. And out at the other end, Tim can listen on the port 20 shaped tube and he can hear me. But if he's listening on the port 21 shaped tube, he's not going to hear anything. So having these multiple channels allows us to have, like, I could have multiple conversations. I could have one with Tim and I could have one with Eva, for example. And I could have them on different tubes. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Oh, one other thing here. So ports under 1024 are kind of special ports. So I'm not going to get into why right now, but typically if you want to pick, you're going to pick a port arbitrarily. Just for the work you're going to do in this module, it'd be good to pick one, unless I say otherwise, above 1024. So I know kind of arbitrary, but it'll make things a little bit easier. Okay. Now we get to the interesting part. So what I was talking about earlier, sending and receiving messages, and different people sending messages along a network, and different people having IP addresses, and different people having different channels, different ports we can talk along. So that was all just kind of like jibber jabber that I was saying, and really probably you didn't really have anything to base it in. But if I didn't say any of that, then what we're about to do is going to be that much harder. So I'd like everybody to form groups of 2 if possible. Is that going to work out? 1, 2, 3. Maybe. Yeah. We'll form small groups, I guess. It doesn't necessarily have to be 2. Or Tonka, you could probably be the breaker to make groups of 2 if we need to do that. So. Okay, we're good? Okay. Yeah. Okay, sweet. So, I forgot what I have in the next slide. Yeah, okay. Okay.
What did we put in to pull up the?
I'll put up the slide one more time again here.
Oh, if config. And then.
Okay. Let me get 2 of these guys open. How's that for font size on these two terminals here? A little bigger or? Okay. Is that good? So do you guys still have your terminal open from before? If so, that's great. If you don't, open it back up again, because we're going to need it in a second here. Yeah, cool. Okay. So we are going to, we're going to start here. I'm going to play both parts of this, just so you can kind of get an idea of how this is roughly going to go. But the goal is, after I do this for the twosome, for one of you guys to send a message to the other, then someone to send a message back. So we're going to do this, effectively talk over the internet in the most basic way we possibly can. So we're going to use this tool to do it, called Netcat. It doesn't really matter the tool all that much. The principle really is more what we're getting at here. But you can use Netcat in 2 ways. Oh, sorry, I need to present this. You can use it as a client or as a server. So if you're the server, you're the one listening to the conversation. And if you're the client, you're the one initiating the conversation. So I'm going to start with here. No, not that one. That one? No, let me just close that one. Okay, so I'm going to start with yeah, there we go. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to start with I'm going to send a message to myself. So I got my IP addresses right here, 192.168.1.84, similar to what you guys just got. So over here, I'm going to have the client, and over here, I'm going to have the server. So I'm going to mirror what's going on this slide here. Unfortunately, I can't really show them both at the same time, but I'll jump between them quickly here in a second. So the client, I'm going to run netcat nc. I'm going to paste the IP address of who I want to talk to. I want to talk to myself, so I'm going to paste my own IP address, and then I'm going to paste the port I want to talk on. So I'm just going to use 5000. 5001 will be different. And then on the server side, I need to listen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say netcat, and I'm going to type -L, which just says for netcat to listen instead of doing what we're doing on the client side, like initiating. And I'm going to say that same port, so the same communication channel on both ends of the communication. So 5001. Now I'm going to run the server, and I'm going to run the client. And nothing's happened here, but it looks like nothing's happened here. But watch this. If on this side I type hello, it shows up on the right side. Now if on the right side type test, it shows up on the left side. Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
So I want you guys to do that. Does this make sense? Do you want me to get in any more detail, or? Okay, cool. So I'll put the slide back up so you guys can follow the instructions. But
And then we put channel.
Do we have to download Netcat?
I think it should be installed by default.
Sure.
So
If you type NC, it can enter. Yeah, you got it.
I'll be the server.
Break like 7 and then you can go on, but get rid of mute your audio and video and stuff like that during a break. Other than that, so going awesome.
Like, when should I? When I get to the end, How does that exactly work? Do I give this out and then give class time to do that, or like, how does that
Yeah,
go?
yeah, good question. So, I'm gonna play it like, like for the first couple classes, I try to do as much in person. To give them like the size things. And it's from a time to give them next time. Chat about questions they had on the homeworks or any some stuff like.
Yeah.
So you can sort of play by ear. You can ask it to just like, all right, do you want to do this? Do you want to carve out time right now? Do you want to class or do you want to break
I
down
guess,
for homework?
is that something like, how typical that to do? Is it, what's the expectation?
Yeah. So it's so generally like 30 minutes, 1 hour. Like,
Yeah.
For homework time.
Yep.
Like everyone available.
Yeah, that's not what I,
So-
for a little longer.
Yeah. So as long as it's like anywhere in that time frame for like what that looks like.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, next class, people will tell you how long it should go. And then you can sort of like go from there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you're sort of or what's that. So yeah. They're happy to tell you where they're at.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
awesome. And I'm looking forward to tuning in the live stream and seeing them. So it should be fun. I think that Dana is tuning remote, just as a heads up. There might be a couple students right now that so just as a heads up, when you're like presenting, just try to stay with your laptop.
Oh, yeah.
Just for like stuff, this sort of thing. Just for those remote folks that might tune in. Looking forward to seeing you guys and how it works too. If there's anything else, internships or anything else, Slack, whatever. Really appreciate you carving the time to.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. So appreciate like the foundation and all those things. So. Go ahead. Well, thanks. Yeah, right. Appreciate it, buddy. Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, it's yeah, you're not gonna have that. Okay. Okay. I got it. No. So I think it's just a little later. Have this web browser. I think it goes to what's wrong with that. So this will only actually go to the client, it won't actually do a server. But just where as I was typing like NC space, IP address space port, you can think of this being this is actually. Yeah. You want to send it to this box, you click that, and then you see the response over there. So it's like, you can only be the client, but you can play around.
So.
Whoa, wait a second, actually. It's not gonna work. Well, you can try, I don't think it's actually gonna work.
Yeah, this is one. Go to the using 5,001. Okay. What is your?
Okay. What did you pick? What is?
So we chose to look over there on the server side. What if they dash now?
They'll also, they'll listen to it, they'll get the message.
Yeah.
At least you should get the
Yeah.
message.
But it should work. Yeah. I just haven't found out.
All right, so did you put in?
And then I hit enter, right?
Oh.
And then I say okay.
That's the Gaus.
Oh, you want to say nice.
That's yeah.
So the thing so far.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah.
We keep picking different channels and it's just not working.
Let's take a look.
Not
working for anybody. I don't like that.
So I tried it first as the client, as the client.
Is Netcat like a thing that's already pre-existing?
It should already be installed. If you type NC, what do you get? Yeah, it should already be installed.
So, I don't know what.
And I got
Okay, yeah, so you hit NC and then you hit enter. Take a look at what I have up on there.
Maybe.
No, I just.
Oh, yeah, okay. So you do the NC IP.
Yeah, so there's one more.
Yeah. from there, yeah.
So I'm gonna get.
Type something. See anything? No? Okay. People are gonna have to do it locally then. Okay, so we're gonna have to modify this slightly. The lesson I learned is I probably should have checked that this would work in this room, but unfortunately, it seems like they've configured things a little weirdly. So instead of doing it in partners, I want you to do what I did up here. So open up 2 terminals side by side. On one terminal, run the netcat-l thing. On the other one, run the client here, putting your own IP address in here. So effectively, you're going to be talking to your own system. I think that should still work. Let's give that a try. Let me get on the same Wi-Fi network you guys are on here. Which one are you guys on? Okay. There we go. Just gonna close that. Let's see, how can we make this work? So I think we're still going to run on the same issue if we do it locally, unfortunately. Okay, we're gonna switch this up one more time. Sorry here, this is getting a little confusing. But instead of typing in your IP address in there, let me bring that guy back up, the slide back up here. Instead of typing in your IP address there, instead I want you to type this. That's gotta work. It's gotta work. I'll explain in a second, but I wanna get you guys doing something here. So it's gotta work.
Oh, are we doing it together, like as a pair or just?
Nope, just on your own. Just on your own.
And your IP.
Is that working for people? Okay, so you got that over there. Yep. Oh, which one did you start first? That's why. Start that one first.
So put that in one there.
So if you no, so start the server first, then start the client.
Start the listening first.
Yep.
Oh, so it doesn't matter which side I'm on.
Say that again?
So are you saying start the listening before you start the?
Start the listening before you start the client.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. I'm sorry. How's that working for people? Is that better? Okay.
It's like a tree phone would, no one.
Just with my.
What does your IP address look like?
Oh, that's just a local host IP.
10 dot something.
It's 10 dot something. Huh. Weird. Okay. I thought you might be on a different Wi-Fi network or something.
So is that just like, that's just like the local host IP address, right?
Yeah. So have you guys run into that before, or the term local host?
Yeah, that's just your own.
Yeah. So that's a way of saying
Whatever
talk to
machine you're
your
on.
own system, not talk to someone else's system. So I guess maybe to break down a little bit what's going on here. Great. So what's going on here is I made a little bit of an error and didn't test it on this Wi-Fi network in this building. Some Wi-Fi networks don't let you do this sort of thing. They kind of protect it because it could be seen as a little bit bad necessarily. However, you were able to do it locally, and with an exercise we're going to do later, it should work. So it's, but anyway.
So is this like always spies?
I mean, you could communicate this way as a spy. It would work.
I'd make a perfect spy. Nobody thinks women of my age would be up there, so. I'm practically invisible, so. You shouldn't. But that's, I think, how we, so I always said there should be a show about one. It's like a spy, because they'll be famous. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
part of my inner fantasy, so just ignore me.
Also a cleaner.
Well, they could pretend.
Anyway, has everyone got it to work locally, or is anyone having problems with that still?
I did not get it to work.
Okay.
Did that help?
Yeah. Yeah. Close both your terminals and servers.
Okay.
Mine didn't work.
Okay. So now do this one first.
Yep. Do that one first. So start by listening.
But it would still be traceable, right? But just to the computer.
Yeah. So it's still gonna communicate locally. Yeah. And now try
I'm
over.
back in my spy
Type something in that guy and see if it shows up on the outside.
Let me focus.
There we
Yes,
go.
there we go.
Yeah. So what I think happened before is you could run this. You had stopped it, so you were trying to run it again.
Yeah, like.
But when you terminated the terminal, it shut everything down. Are you guys familiar with Control C to close things in terminal? So if you guys are running into issues, part of the problem might have been that you had it running and you didn't terminate it when you're done to try to restart it. So if you have it running and you hit Control C, it'll close it and then you can run it again and it should work that time. The other big important thing here is you always have to listen before you send. So imagine that you have someone just kind of shouting, and then someone else kind of gets in the middle there in the middle of the shouting. They don't really know what's going on. So that's why that helps me at least to think through that. So anyway, always listen first. So always start your server before you start the client, or start the server before you start communicating to it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is what we just did. Okay, protocols. So what we just did here, we were sending data, just kind of plain text, like sending whatever sort of data. And that works great for if you're a human trying to consume that data. But if you're a machine, that's kind of difficult. Like machines don't really know how to understand English or don't know how to understand another language that's human-based. So typically in communication between computers, we have this notion of a protocol, which is like a specific way you format the data that allows for the computer to be able to understand it. So in a second here, I made up a little toy protocol we're going to use for our next little demonstration here. But yeah, okay. So this is going to be a little less interesting because it's going to be talking to yourself, but
It's one of my hobbies.
so we're gonna do the same thing here. Only this time we're going to use a protocol. So that this protocol, it has two pieces to it. You start what you're going to say by using a 3-letter phrase. So either FAV, MAN, or IST. And these are totally arbitrary and it allows you to ask one of 3 types of questions. So what is your favorite blank? How many blank do you have? What blank is it? So if you wanted to send a message here, you would start with one of these 3, one of these question identifiers. So like FAV and then a word. So if I wanted to say, what is your favorite TV show? I would type FAV in all capitalized letters, space, TV show. So why is this important? Well, if we're communicating with a computer, we need to be able to have it be able to parse what we're saying. We need to be able to have it to understand what we're saying. And if we just say, what is your favorite TV show? That's pretty long and pretty hard for the computer to decipher. I mean, you could have maybe like, what is your favorite TV show and what is your favorite type of food? Like it allows for too much flexibility. With a computer, you really need to be very predictable. And something like this is incredibly predictable. The first word, all the characters up until the space is one of these question identifiers. Then the word after it is the thing you're asking about. So does that make sense, kind of? Do you think you have enough information to do this exercise again? What we just did, but instead using this protocol? Okay, cool. Give that a try. And if you need any help, don't feel free to holler.
So I did it, and there's my question showed up.
Oh, I didn't talk about the most important piece here. You got to respond.
Right.
So I talked about the 3 possible types of questions, but you have to respond to that question. You have to give an answer. So the answer also has a format as well. And there's a single type of response. It follows a similar sort of format. ANS, answer. So that's this guy down here. And then the answer is whatever. So for example, let's go through kind of let's go through a demo here just to solidify it. If I start this up again, just like you guys just did, and I ask a question like, what is my favorite TV show? FAV, TV show. I've received that. Now I'm going to respond with just watching some Top Gear last night. Top Gear. I responded. So this sort of protocol here, we can now use it to communicate between the client and the server. It's structured. So a machine, if you imagine the server as a machine, it could understand what's being said here. And it would know when you say FAV, oh, this means favorite. Or when you use IST, it's like they're asking about something about what it is. Does that make more sense? Do you think you guys can complete it with that additional information? Sorry, I missed that before.
So what you want us to do is literally what you just did?
Yeah, exactly. What I guess the point I'm trying to drive home here is the importance of a protocol, the sort of notion of structured communication. That when you communicate between two different systems, you want to use a format that is predictable, that the other side can understand, that doesn't require like understanding English. Yeah, to hear.
So, what's kind of the enforcer of this protocol? It's like 2 people who have an agreement, or like the machine or the computer checking on it, like a compiler.
Great question. So in this case, it's just kind of a convention. It's just we've said the client always will send a message that looks like something, and the server will always respond with a message that looks like something. In practice, yes, it's very enforced. And if you send a bad message, we're going to get to that in a second, it will respond badly. It'll say like, you've sent a bad message, try again. Does that make sense?
So if I'm talking to someone else, I can just type hello and they can just type how are you?
Yeah.
Like we were just doing. But now, if I want people, is this like, so I've got a website that asks people what their favorite TV show is and it's going back and forth?
Exactly. So if you, yeah, I should have provided that context. I'm sorry. If you so if you had like a website, you wanted to ask someone a question and you want to send that to a server, maybe at the beginning you could just have it where like someone just types something and it would go to the server and they just have that data and that's it. But let's say you now have two types of questions. You need to differentiate between what's being typed.
Right.
So you might have maybe the first question starts with 1, the second question starts with 2. You've now made a protocol. You've got everything that starts with the character 1 is the first question. Everything that starts with the character 2 is the second. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
So now the server understands it and knows where to put it.
Yeah, exactly.
Top gear's a good choice.
Thank you. If you guys haven't, try a couple questions back and forth. I mean, it's probably a little bit of you probably get the idea, but just to really drive it home, I guess.
You just like made those up, right?
I totally made these up. I was sitting here in the morning before work a couple weeks ago thinking I need to teach protocols, and I just got to come up with something arbitrary, and they're the first 3 questions that jumped into my head.
All right, so it's sort of like how, when texting first came out, people actually typed out laughing out loud. And now people don't bother with that, they're just LOL. And we all understand that that's how you talk now.
In a way, yeah. So you have that LOL. The protocol is that LOL really means laugh out loud. You can think of it like that. But if you extend that sort of thing, think about maybe whenever you send a friend, I don't know, maybe like you want to wish them a happy birthday. If you type HBD, that kind of means happy birthday. People just know that's what it means.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a message where like that the person's able to understand that without all the extra context of the English.
Right. So I can also send them like a little birthday present like box, and they also understand that that's what it means, but the computer would have trouble.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
both of those things mean happy birthday.
Yeah. I mean, the computer would have trouble. Like if you also maybe if you said to me happy birthday or happy day of birth even, like that would be enough to confuse a computer. It would be like switching the order there. What's up?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does each port have its own protocol?
Each port could have its own protocol. Yeah. So if you think about, go back to the walkie-talkie analogy. You have a bunch of people who are all communicating over walkie-talkies. You could have one pair of people using one protocol, another pair of people using another protocol, and they're parallel lines of communication. Or you can have them using the same protocol. There are many protocols in computer science. And we're going to touch on a couple of this module.
HTTP is a protocol.
It is a protocol. That's tomorrow. Yeah.
So is this its own language?
Yeah, we've kind of created our own language here.
Okay.
Just like you were doing JavaScript last week.
Right.
This is a language that's notion is like data communication. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is everybody good? Okay. Cool. So we just did. Okay. This is great. Okay. So we'll see if the network's going to cooperate on this exercise. I think it will, because I think this is a little bit different. But I actually wrote a server that is up in the cloud somewhere that you can talk to that understands this protocol we were just using. So you can ask it questions and it'll give you responses. And if you type them badly, it'll give you errors and stuff like that. So this is kind of the next evolution here of like, we're actually going to take that server and turn it from a human into a machine. So I'm going to really cross my fingers this is going to work, but let's give it a try here. So I have a bunch of exercises I put in the GitHub Classroom repository. I'll post a link for it in Slack. I think it is this one. Yeah. So the one we're going to be looking at today is these TCP exercises. So this TCP exercises document here, I'm going to also post this in Google Classroom as well. So this is kind of the exercises that are kind of meant for you to do alone or as homework. But Jesse was saying that it probably makes sense more for this to be like a classwork type of thing that carries over into homework if you don't finish it. So we've I got a copy of this slide from the presentation in this exercise. So has everybody been able to get to this link okay? Okay, cool. So I got this this copy of the slide from the exercises in here. So I've got a bunch of different questions here that you have to ask the server. And the server is located at module5.tk. I was talking about that earlier. And it is running on port 4000. So let's give this a try here on this network and see how it goes. If we go NC, going to be a client. We want to talk to module5.tk on port 4000. Type that. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Ooh, that made me feel a lot better. So we've got this. Just try sending it. Send it just some text to start with, like I just did here. Like, hi, error. Please specify a question identifier.
I was gonna say that's what it just told me.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. So I mean, I guess do you think you guys have enough information to go through these questions? Okay. Cool. If you don't, flank either me or Pankaj down, and we can try to help you with it. I hope I wrote the server correctly.
So what did we say about the error?
So so you don't need that. This one doesn't have to. So what we're doing now is we're communicating with a server that's a machine.
Right.
So instead of us being a server, now we're communicating with a machine that's a server. Okay. So now we've got all these questions here. And the goal is to use the structured protocol the server understands to ask the server the questions and you get the responses.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Ha! That's fun. It was something that you changed.
What did you get as a response?
Yes, did not know.
Cool, thanks.
I got it. Well,
Yeah, go back to your camera. Try one more time.
This is so fun.
gotta be careful.
Hit Control C. Try to run the Netcat thing again.
Okay.
Yep. try typing it again. The IST time. So if you guys are having issues, with getting it to work reliably, like you type it what you think is correct and you see an error, try quitting it and restarting the Netcat client, like I had done up here before. Occasionally it can get a little confused. So anyway, work for you? Okay.
She's got one cookie.
I kept doing
Oh,
this, I
nice.
had a control again, and start over again, like taking hello and whatever I typed.
Yeah, I think I screwed up the code for it.
It's okay. I figured it out.
I did it. I wrote it quickly. I'm sorry.
Alright.
Yep.
But tools,
Yeah.
let me see.
So
Did you restart, do control C?
you might, if you're having issues with it working easily like that, cancel it and try making the connection again.
I tried it.
Yeah.
What if I said, wow?
Especially Tuesday.
How does it know what that is?
But if you type a word,
Fancy.
I'm sure it's what your computer always knows what mine is.
it's because you typed try first. So you have to control, and start over again.
Yeah, so-
So I can just Google
Yeah,
it.
I was saying.
So keep taking that first line that you wrote,
Yeah.
plus whatever again first.
So if I was able to take cancel it back to
So you're saying like.
Well, I would say that,
First day.
because if I'm not online,
Yeah.
I don't know, it still doesn't take time.
I was trying
No, no, I'm putting this
to one, trying to do one that would work
For
on
whatever reason.
Windows. Like this.
And that's.
You can do this exercise like that, but yeah,
I'm
that's
not
really
sure why that works. I mean, that always works, just like you can always make an emergency
So,
call.
try put module5.tk in there.
Instead.
Yeah.
It's not yours.
Yep, and host. Yep.
But I don't know why.
And then import, put the 4,000, I think is what it was. And then put the message in there.
Alright, so that I can follow on.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, okay, so try taking something like, I'm actually trying to set this combination.
I'm sorry, what is your
There's no reason.
So where did you move your phone?
San Francisco.
You have family there?
Okay.
I don't want to take your time. I was just trying to follow.
If you can find a version of Netcat for Windows, just look up Netcat. That would be probably.
We were here 7 years ago for a year. She did her PhD.
How's it going?
Oh my God.
Okay.
You know the vendors.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's just not a place that people randomly. Oh, that was what made it so hard. I'm not used to it. Are you from here originally? No.
I came here for school.
Oh, for
Where are
SU?
you from?
I'm from Hudson, New York.
Oh, that's awesome.
What? It just quit on me? What the heck?
It's like 2 hours north of the city. Yeah. Almost far enough.
I was like pushing so hard and so I shut all the Russians. Yeah, the area didn't have to be walking, they met. Yeah, that's how I
Okay. Back here doing. All good? Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I could get spoiled.
I used to like all of these things. Always a good place to go to college.
Sweet.
At least I was. I went to law school.
Yeah.
So that's really all I had planned for today. Like, I really was not very aggressive here. So if you want, we can start to dive into tomorrow's stuff, or we can just play around more with this stuff. Whatever you guys want to do. Say that again? What did you say?
And just.
Review. Okay. Maybe we can.
Do that?
Do you actually?
Teach us stuff that other people don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do a question and answer and just ask me stuff, that works too. Whether about this stuff or past stuff, like I'm an open book if that's helpful.
How much do you know about JavaScript?
I use it every single day at work heavily.
Excellent.
Actually, I work with Gus, like he sits next to me.
Oh,
Nice.
So yeah.
So when you like, add new element, element, the DOM,
Yeah.
can you manipulate it? Add something?
Yeah. So what are you trying to do, I guess?
One of the assignment
Our homework.
Yeah. Also, if you guys keep being this efficient, you're not gonna have any homework.
Good.
Yeah.
there's a chance to catch up.
So one of the assignment was to create elements, kind of like a little biography.
Oh, the testimonial.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So I had time. Just like, if you look at it, I was kind of explain words.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. Do you have a link of it? You can send it.
It's on Google Classroom.
Okay. These new tools. I'm not used to them. Google Classroom. Do you happen to know what assignment it is offhand? And also,
First day, wasn't it?
first day of last week. Okay, under Joey's.
So yeah, we were supposed to add something to the Hack Up State website and just send him the code.
Wait, module 4 is what I want here.
We can
4.
explain it.
We have like.
That'll help.
You said week. What day of week 9?
Monday.
Monday. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Let me take a look at this. Sure.
That's oddly informative.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't show that to everybody. Oops. I don't know what I'm doing in this thing yet. Yeah. Okay. Let me do this.
So I just put,
And
Would we pull up like our grades?
wait.
Um,
I don't know what I.
How many people turned in the assignment?
Oh.
Pause recording.
wait, how many people? can you miss?
Not that many.
What?
You didn't come back on that good, you guys.
Stop share. That's what I want.
Kelly, the curve breaker.
Sorry.
Do you guys understand the report?
First ever, man.
Okay.
That's a little bit easier. I
It was never handy. and
Okay.
now-
Actually, I think it's.
Still useless. Useless.
Listen,
Why did I marry?
my mom picked my daughter up from school.
6. No. Okay. Yeah. Maybe. I can't find the code that you're referring to exactly. I see the Google Classroom entry. Let me share this again.
I posted it on Slack.
Ah, okay. That works too. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Ooh. Joey really gave you a challenging one. Like, this is,
It was a challenge.
yeah. Maybe I should be stepping up my homework assignments. Wow.
No, 'cause like only one of us did it.
Yeah.
First, Jesse, can I use my stipend to take care of it? Check, cover my
Okay. Sure. So you're talking about number 2 on this. Also, this is the Tuesday homework, not the Monday homework.
Oh, I think he didn't add the assignment. I think he gave it to us Monday night, but he might not have.
Oh,
added the assignment.
okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Well.
We have Monday and Tuesday. Go over the second one for second added.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're talking about like this bullet point 2 in particular. This first one seems like it's just do some research.
Mhm.
Is that something you guys were able to do, or?
Yeah, we did that.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Wait,
So
the table function. Oh no,
that's the one that.
part.
Yeah.
And
but-
that's why it was optional.
Oh, it does say optional. Yeah, I
Yeah,
missed that.
But I think that we're talking about another assignment.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
This page, we were supposed to be able to add, like, as if we were writing a testimonial about the class.
Oh yeah.
Like
So
to
on our
insert
screen, so we're just
some-
gonna do it, so it'll look good on our screens and then copy the code.
Okay. Cool. Like in the developer tools console or something.
Right.
Yeah,
We were
okay.
using Scratch.js.
Oh yeah, Joey likes Scratch.js. I don't get that.
Yeah.
It's weird, because then when you go to use it again, save what you did before.
Yeah.
But you can't, like, start a
Put
new
it
one.
somewhere.
Yeah, you have to put
Yeah.
it somewhere. So I was putting it in visual.
You have to put it somewhere manually.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if you, I guess, what would you guys find the most helpful? Do you want to kind of go through how you'd make a table with that optional thing, or do you have another homework assignment that'd be more helpful to go through? I mean, I don't know. I want to do whatever is best for everybody here. So.
Yeah. You have it.
Kind of when you went over it in class, it made sense, but some of them are not there. I personally went home and tried to do it.
Okay.
I kept bringing up errors every time, like type something different out of it. Websites. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Or Pontius, what kind of experience do you have with JavaScript? Very little.
They have the first one to do it.
Okay.
I used them,
Yeah, this isn't like data structure stuff. This is more
Alright, let me see.
I've done it like 15 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'd say that maybe afterwards let's get together quickly. I want to do something else here.
Yeah.
Here, but we can definitely sync afterwards.
Yeah.
Where's my edge? Okay, so this is what we like started up. It was like,
Yeah. You
create some
maybe.
stuff, make yourself an object, insert that into append some text to that so that you can write yourself a key tag, then render it and append it to some place in the DOM, and then that did not happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I'll ask you to start with, like, conceptually, is what's going on here makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's maybe send me that code in Slack. Let me just quickly up here run through that, I guess, like line by line, and just like watch what happens. Maybe that'll help some people, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I hope I'm happy to practice.
Yeah. Okay.
So we would basically just use this, right? It's the classes. So this H3 element. So wouldn't we just be doing?
This might have been what I was trying to do, not what everybody was trying to do.
But wait a minute, isn't that just like, did he want us to do something with JavaScript that one?
He wants you to create elements. in JavaScript.
But can't you just create something on your own screen using just the H3 class? That H3 thing, because the,
Yeah,
weren't
in
we
theory,
just
you
like
could.
Doug has his quote here, and weren't we just gonna add one to that?
Yeah, so in theory, you could do it like that. You just minus the fraction.
Yeah,
What
so
would we be doing? I am a little confused because I'm never quite clear on what we're using in the job, like what would we be doing other than just having it up there in a way that looks like it belongs to the website? I mean, isn't
I
that
mean, what do you do with
functionality? Like, yeah,
JavaScript
what am I
other than
doing with
make
the JavaScript?
magic HTML?
You're just using like create element. Stuff like that.
Yeah, so another thing we're going to get into later in this module, you can use JavaScript to actually talk to servers. So
Right.
you can do JavaScript allows your applications. Jesse was saying I should be closer to the computer here. Sorry too.
Yeah.
Um,
sound.
Yeah, so JavaScript allows you to have any sort of interactive functionality you want on your page. So that could be as simple as like hovering over a link and making like a thing pop up over it.
Oh.
Or that could be as complex as like building like Google Maps, like an interactive map like that. Like that's all done in JavaScript. Or you can like creating elements or making network requests or I don't know, lots of stuff like that, I guess. So it's used very heavily. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So if I wanted my testimonial to pop out, like transition.
Yeah.
Did we do that also?
You could do that. Yeah. So
But we didn't use JavaScript for that either.
no, so CSS does have a way you can do that sort of stuff. I would say the example I gave you is a little bit contrived because in practice you wouldn't really do that sort of thing with JavaScript.
Right.
But what an example of something you would do is like I'm going to make a network request. And then when I get back the output of that network request, I'm going to draw something to the page with JavaScript, like make a new p element, put a bunch of stuff in there.
Right.
So what he's kind of having you do is the sort of the back part of that exercise, the sort of writing everything to the screen with JavaScript using the DOM as its own self-contained thing. In practice, though, you wouldn't do that. You'd always do that in concert with something else.
Yeah, like you wouldn't build a whole web page.
Well,
Well, I mean,
people
you
do.
could, I guess, but
I have.
I wouldn't. That sounds annoying.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem fun.
Like all JavaScript and like no HTML.
Yeah. If you use JavaScript to do all of the HTML. Tedious.
Module 11, you're going to be learning about that. So,
Well,
yeah.
good.
Why
Oh,
would
wait,
we do
actually,
that?
isn't that what Joey's back?
yeah, that's when Joey's back. So, I mean, in general, the reason why is doing that allows you to have some sort of guarantees about what's being rendered at the screen. So let me unpack that for a second a little bit here. So for example, let's say I want to render a counter. And I have a button that I click and it makes that counter go up, and I click it and it goes down again. Pretty simple. You could do that all like with JavaScript. When you click on the button, you have it run a function, and that function maybe like changes the value inside of a div or something. But let's say now you have that counter somewhere else, and then somewhere else, and it's now starting to like invade all over your application that you're making. So it's very slowly you'll discover that all the logic to maintain that gets very unruly. But without stealing too much of what Joey's going to get into, what Joey's going to be teaching this thing called React. It gives you a way of making that sort of process a lot easier. It's a sort of thing where it's a problem you often won't run into at the beginning, but especially as your application gets bigger, it becomes more and more clear that it's unreasonable.
Okay.
So, yeah, for any of the stuff you guys are doing now, it's, in my opinion, pretty unreasonable to not just use HTML and JavaScript and modify it where needed.
But is that like a product that people actually want?
Yeah, I mean, I use it every day at work, and I love doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I use React. Yeah.
Oh, I mean like doing HTML.
Oh,
CSS,
just HTML.
And then a little bit of JavaScript.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of, like, this Hack Upstate site is made that way. If you were to look at the HTML, the index.html that's loaded up when that site is visited, you'd see a bunch of HTML. You'd see what you guys have been doing so far: a bunch of HTML, a bunch of CSS, and and then maybe a little bit of JavaScript here and there to make things interactive.
Anybody want to go?
No, thank you.
Actually, you know what I might do here? I might unplug the computer and take the computer around with me, so then I can actually walk around because I feel cramped over here. Yeah, I gotta walk around.
Yeah.
Oh, great point. I'm sharing only this screen. Actually, if someone could check, that would be great. Yeah. It's a little delayed. Wonderful. Okay, cool. Maybe actually I'll even share my camera and then we can just get like little one-on-one discussions here or something. Yeah. Actually also, so you guys probably can tell, but I'm not that great of a presenter. And it's something I'm definitely working on. So I guess if you guys have any sort of feedback on like how can I explain this stuff better? Or how, if there's anything I'm doing where maybe an explanation made sense to you a lot or didn't make sense to you, like I'd love to hear that.
I think it all makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing is that I say to everybody, and I say it a lot, so it's signature, but context.
Yeah.
Because you guys, in my opinion, have focused more on, and it's good to focus on the how you do it, but I don't always understand why we're doing it.
Yep.
Why would I use that? Like for me, that's really big.
Yeah, I can totally understand that.
So
I will say that this lesson, I think tomorrow's lesson are going to be a little context free just because you have to get a little of the background to start with. But if by the middle of the week or so you haven't gotten that, let me know because maybe I have to alter my approach a little bit. So, anybody over here wants to talk about anything? I was talking with these guys over here a bunch. No?
we're the chatters.
Okay. Also,
In my new book.
he was saying I should be taking a break here at some point.
I know it.
It's great that time read.
Because you can't tell electrical JavaScript. when
Yeah.
you get online, how long it
Okay.
really is. So I got that book and that book.
How have you guys been feeling about all of these network exercises? Have they made sense to you? Okay. Good. Good.
I know what a port is.
Yeah? Okay, actually, let me talk about a couple more network things since that's what I'm supposed to be talking about. So there are a couple standard types of ports. So just like maybe your walkie-talkie defaults to maybe port 1, whenever we make web requests, whenever we talk over the web, those are going to usually by default, well, not as much these days, but classically by default are on port 80. Why they picked 80? No idea, but it's just the port they picked. Also, so when you see that little, when you see a website that starts with HTTPS, it has a little green lock next to it.
It's secure.
Yeah, it's secure. And that's a special port it goes over. It's like a special channel for communication. Because just like we were talking about the protocols earlier, imagine you sent secured data to a server that's expecting unsecured data. That's like a very big difference in protocol. It's going to get very confused. So because of that, we have a separate port we use for those sorts of communications. So the port for HTTPS is 443. And also, if you notice the pattern, remember how earlier I was talking about how ports under 1024 are special? Well, the reason why, all those ports under 1024, most of them anyway, are reserved for special forms like default ports for communication. So if you use one of those ports, you're effectively saying to anyone on that computer you're interacting with that port, you're now stealing it for your own use. And while you can do that, there's nothing wrong with it. It means if someone, for example, you set up your own little server and someone else wants to run a web server on there, wants to talk to web browsers, they now can't. You've now stolen that web port and they're kind of stuck. So it's typically by convention you use the standard ports.
So is that like government functions or emergency uses or something like that? 1024 reserve.
They're-
Or do you just pay?
No, you don't necessarily pay for them, but they're ports that are used by convention. So if I make a request, if you notice actually, when you go to a website, you don't specify a port. you're connecting to some sort of IP address, but you don't say what port. The reason why is the default port that's used is port 80. Yep, exactly. And like over time, you'll just start to get these things memorized, and it'll become scary. And you'll just start to say like port 22 is SSH, and like port 21 is Telnet. I think. But anyway, like you'll get them down.
I guess I don't understand what are ports, like I'm thinking of
Yeah.
like
Just
airways.
channels.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
understand light channels or light airways or something.
Yeah.
It's not really like that. It's
It's-
really just a,
You could. So the example I'm going back. I keep going back to is like the walkie-talkie.
right,
So you think about if you're having a conversation with somebody, you're talking with that one person, and that's one channel of communication.
right.
And then you're talking with somebody else, and that's another channel of communication. You can think of those two things as two different ports, two different channels.
Right, but
Yeah.
they're like radio waves.
Yeah, in that example, yeah.
Right.
And on the internet, you can think of it also like if you have a cable connecting two computers,
Right,
imagine you have a line inside of that cable for each port that you're communicating on.
right,
And each of those little lines contains all the data for each port. So they're all going through that cable. And you can all communicate in parallel on those ports. So I can send something on port 80 at the same time I'm sending something on port 4000. So does that help at all? Or are you still a little
I'm
confused?
just curious as to, I don't understand how computers themselves work, like how the
Mhm.
machinery works. Like I know it's like electrons and it is, but
Yeah,
that doesn't really mean anything to me. So I was just wondering what the ports themselves. They should make a show like Cosmos, but with computers.
totally
Like
should.
that would be really interesting to
Wait,
me.
let's tweet
Are you
that.
talking like physically, like what a port is, like?
Yeah, like what is it that I'm communicating over?
Like, it makes me think of like the telephone switchboard.
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand what it's doing. I understand it's similar to all those things. I just don't know what it is.
Isn't it like?
It's just
well,
like, I guess it's just like electrons.
Yeah.
It's just electrons
It's just
moving
electricity doing its
along,
thing.
whatever.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
understood electricity.
It's
Yeah, so I mean,
One way behind the eight ball, and it's not really, I'm just curious.
has anybody gone into binary in this class yet?
Just a little.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
Who did that?
Yeah. I did, I watched that.
I forget what.
I mean, I get it. It's like
Okay.
electrons that are, I mean, I can understand what you said, but I don't. Like airways like that.
I brought it up more because they were talking about how computers work under the hood. But I mean,
I guess.
I would say on my day-to-day, I touch them less than you'd think, but doesn't mean you don't need to know how they work.
I don't know.
It's good to have a base understanding, but you don't need to know like every little thing about binary constantly, I guess. Just understanding that a computer represents data as binary inside of it. And eventually, as maybe you start to grow a little bit, starting to as you solve problems, remember that's how it's stored and thinking back to that sort of concept. But like the whole, like, oh, no problem.
Sorry, I'm just a little frustrated.
Like I said about that area language.
Anyway.
There's one over that wall.
This has the strength.
Yeah, here. Got this. I'll let you figure that one out. So Jesse was saying you guys can really take a break around now.
Right.
Okay. You want to do that? Okay. So you guys are going to have to help me with the format. I meant to go to one of these last week to kind of get my bearings, but I didn't have time.
Or will we?
I'm an idiot.
Okay. I think, and then I can go to Okay, so give me your attention for a second, guys. Sorry. I think I was just talking with Pankaj here, and I think what it's going to make sense is probably for just for us to take the rest of the class and just like do homework, ask questions. It sounds like you guys need the time. I don't really have anything else to talk about. So
We really do.
Sounds great.
okay,
That's amazing, thank you.
yeah.
I don't think I got
So-
any homework in my
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's fine. I mean,
I just don't have the time to do it.
Now you have not to.
When
catch-
yeah.
When you drive all over New York State for your job and then have to be here by 5:30 at night every night. Doesn't help.
Cool. I'm going to end the stream then. So
If you work 8 hours, it's not,
yeah.
if you work 8 hours.
See anybody on the stream at a later point, I guess.
It
Bye.
doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. It's like not possible.
You have like 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm literally gone from like
Whoa.
7:30 in the morning to 9:30